Apparently, I think this might be one of the last sessions of the afternoon, which means I'm holding all of you up from the DevRocks party. So I apologize if I'm keeping you from getting a head start. I hear traffic is a little uh, interesting in this city. That was putting it mildly. Um, a few things. If you are going to the DevRocks party, does everyone have this? Let me rephrase the question. If you don't have this party pass, can you raise your hand? Okay. Before you leave the room, I have extras up here in case you plan on going tonight. Apparently, you're going to need to bring this dossier with you. It's a it's a rather large party pass, but my understanding is if you don't have this, they won't give you admittance. And I'd rather talk to all of you there, so please make sure you grab one from me at the very end. So we can make sure to have a pint or a drink of your choice and chat more later tonight. So let me just first introduce myself. My name is SHARAT CHANDER. I'm trying to see through the darkness. I see some familiar faces. I see more unfamiliar faces, and that's a good thing because the role that I've had now for 24 years, dating myself, has been to empower all of you to reach your summit. Literally, for the last 24 years, the responsibility I've had in a very quiet form, purposely designed to be quiet, is to help all of you become better developers, better participants in the Java ecosystem, and help you navigate on your journey on this amazing technology. And so you've probably seen many talks here today, yesterday, probably at other conferences that go really technically deep into understanding the fundamental changes that we are introducing at a technical level in Java, things like virtual threads and features that are coming out of Project Amber. What are we doing for microservices and on and on and on and on. And it's inherently important that you understand how to use this pool of technical innovation. Absolutely. But we at Oracle on the Java team have a fundamental responsibility besides just building great programming language, great platform. We need to enable all of you to move forward. And so today I'm going to spend a little bit of time to educate you on how we approach Java so you can make some better choices, better understanding of those technical features when they are ready for you to adopt. So there's a bit of a less confusion as far as how did we get to this point to deliver these specific features or collection of features on any given release. And the more empowered you are in your workplace to understand our approach to building, designing, and maintaining and enhancing Java, the more educated you can be in your workplace as you talk in your development groups, talk with your developer manager, talk to your CTO, the people that are actually making decisions around what architecture your institution, your company, your enterprise is using. So you may not be inherently responsible for making the ultimate decision, but each of you should understand you absolutely influence the decision making. And I think it's a testament to the last 24 years of Java. Excuse me, that's wrong. 29 years of Java coming up, that all of you have a special role to play. And so I'm going to walk you a bit through our approach to building, designing, and delivering features. But then I also want to focus on what we are doing for you and why we do it and where does that inspiration come from. At the end of the day, Java isn't just a technology, it's a community and an ecosystem, and you all play a very special part in it, regardless of the role type you choose to select. So I need to ask everyone real quick, who is still using Java 8? It's okay. Don't be scared. I'm not making any judgment. No judgment. Okay. Who in this room, if you can, is using Java 11? Okay. How about Java 17? Okay. Java 21 in production. Yeah, there's a trick to that question. In production. You know what? Let me ask another question. Let me go the other way. Who's using Java 7? Excellent. Or Java 6? Or something older than Java 6? Okay, thank God no hands went up. It's fundamentally to understand that the way we design software in the generation we live in has fundamentally changed than the way Java was designed coming up on 29 years ago. The market has shifted, the pace of innovation has shifted, the business models have shifted, the use cases have shifted. And the reality is the way Java used to be designed was for what we would call decades of vision. We see a target, it's something that will happen in a decade. And we're trying to achieve that type of feature set that's going to be used 10 years out. We're no longer on that train of 10 years. All of you are most likely thinking about what is my project going to look like in 5 years, maybe 3. Maybe your institution is making yearly changes. We need to inherently look at how we've designed Java to adapt for that environment. And unfortunately, the way Java was originally designed in terms of a release model didn't fit that narrative. And so to fundamentally turn the ship so it offered value to all of you, we had to look at 2 different consumers of Java, not consumers from out there in the public, but consumers in the technical space. One is you as developers. We all as developers like and gravitate towards the new shiny feature. It happens. We do it even internally at Oracle. Something is new. It automatically is interesting, whether it has value or not. The new shiny thing, the thing that's going to push the envelope, gives us attraction. But the reality is, regardless of the size of your institution, whether you're a small, medium, or large-sized business, they like stability. I want to put something in production, and I really don't want to make fundamental changes to that, because that comes at a cost. And so we have this dichotomy of the enterprise leadership and you as developers, because you can innovate faster if you have features in your hand to drive the business forward. And sometimes that creates a conflict and friction for all of you. And so the old model, multi-release model, where we were releasing, the promise was Java every 2 years. We knew that a lot of times that didn't happen. It ended up becoming a Java release every 3 years, sometimes 4, which is how long it took for Java 8 to get out, which was kind of scary. The reality is we had to fundamentally change that approach so we could serve both sides of that scale. And so we introduced this concept internally called tip to tail. The tip meaning you as developers can access new features much more easily when they're available. And the tail meaning we can provide stability to your business decision makers where there's very little what we call waves or ripples that disrupt the business. And so, as anything, change comes with fear. And I'll be honest with you, there was a tremendous amount of fear inside the Java team. Can we do this? Can we shift from multi-release model to what you now all have experienced, which is a 6-month release cycle? And by the way, we had many other debates. Do we go from 2 years, which was the original promise, to 1? Do we go to 6? Do we go to monthly releases? There was this internal debate. And the reality is we had, as many of you know, a legacy ethos, a legacy approach that we had to overcome. But it wasn't just us, it's you as developers. You've been trained to expect Java in a certain fashion, in a certain delivery model, whether you liked it or not. And so we had to overcome both of those skepticisms in terms of how we designed, and it came to a collection of ideas that we could then formulate into a plan to achieve 6 months of release and feature releases. And all of you probably saw this out there. There was plenty of skepticism when we shifted to 6 months. Pick your watering cooler of choice, whether it was on Reddit or on, do I call it Twitter anymore? Can I say that? I can call it Twitter? X, Blue Sky, whatever, wherever your watering hole was. There was deep concerns that 6 months was too fast. 6 months was too fast. Yet here we are as developers in our enterprises being expected to push out updates, sometimes automate that in a way that can be delivered much quicker. So there was a bit of a conflict there. And rightfully so, we deserved this criticism. We deserved this feedback. And this feedback, as you see here, came from some of the most prominent luminaries and voices that we trust in the ecosystem to be an indicator, a sort of beacon as far as what is the pulse of the overall developer community. And so what were they? The challenges inherently were two things. One was technical challenges. What was our build model like? How did we develop our code repositories? How did we do updates? How did we do the code check-ins and the testing? Our system was just old. And like all of you with your enterprise solutions, you never want to hear the word old. You want to hear the word modern. So that's what we had to do. We had to modernize how we built Java. There's efficiencies that we could learn from the industry. The old model of pouring concrete and banging in nails and putting up studs and then putting on the roof was extremely manual. There are things that we had to fundamentally automate and think about new places where we could have that level of innovation and creativity happen from a productivity standpoint. Now, the second challenge was a cultural thing. Now, can you imagine in 1996, we would ever have a thought of where we are today in 2024 in terms of what the global world environment is from a technical perspective? We didn't have that insight. We could only see, like I said, 5, maybe 10 years out. And so culturally, we had to change. We had to change our muscle memory, retrain our brains to think about how to build and design. How do we get feedback? Because inherently, where is the value for all of you? The role you play is having that ability to participate with us transparently, openly, authentically, and honestly to get the feedback necessary to make the designs necessary. The other part was stability. Backporting sucks. I'm sure many of you have experienced that. Like that fundamentally can slow you down in terms of making investments and choices on the new shiny thing. So we had to break that down. And then the other part was we're trying, similar to the monolithic world of applications, we had to look at the monolithic approach of Java features. We thought of them in these sort of siloed, large release approaches where one feature had to be delivered in its totality, and then we could only release it. But the reality is a solution comes in parts, and we needed to break that down discretely into segments that we could release continually so there's an opportunity to accelerate your learning. Because when you get a large feature, it sometimes takes months, if not years, to understand how to fundamentally utilize that in your company, in your enterprise. Now, many of you might remember Java 8. Does anyone remember how many features came out in Java 8? Roughly speaking. Anyone take a guess? Did I hear 5?
40.
Keep going up. Getting a little warmer. Little high. 97. 97 features. And in Java 7, we had 84 new features. Java 7 came out with 84. 3 years went by before we released Java 8 with 97. That meant when Java 8 came out, you're probably still catching up on the 84 features that were in Java 7. It takes time to go through all of those features to understand how do I use it, how do I integrate it, which ones do I not use. And then when Java 8 comes out, you're probably still, in some cases, whether you've moved on from Java 8 or not, trying to digest and understand how to use that entire feature set. That is cumbersome. That slows you down. And when things are in smaller pieces, it becomes more approachable. There's less of a learning curve to that. And so we had to right size how we build Java. And what was the payoff? The payoff is we have reduced the latency to give you access to all of the features that we're delivering. Now, mind you, when we moved to 6 months, it wasn't about throughput. The goal was not about delivering the same volume of features that were in Java 8 or Java 7 or even Java 6. It was about incrementally accelerating the release scale, giving you a smaller set of features so you can quickly integrate that into your build systems, your build tools, and in terms of learning how to use them. And for the most part, everyone's happy. I mean, there was a time, many of you might remember, pretty much on a yearly basis since 2010. And if I'm able to go get all of the archived articles, every year I used to see a news article somewhere in the tech industry on a tech rag that said, Java is dead. And then the next year, Java is dead again. 5 years later, Java is dead again. And the reality is we're getting away from that mindset, which is Java is here to stay. In fact, this article came out just as we released Java 22 back in March. And it was one of many articles similar to this that indicated that there is a renaissance that's happening around Java. Now, I like to also go to the watering holes and to hear some of the positive quotes that we saw on Reddit. And this is just a sample size, but there is a re-spirited investment and feeling around Java in the ecosystem. Don't get me wrong, there's still things we have to fundamentally do to get better, and I'll explain a little bit of that. But the roadmap and the journey is looking much more positive than it did 10 years ago or 15 years ago. But the reality is, you still can't make everyone happy. So when Valhalla is ready, you better damn well be sure we'll be talking about that. So where does that come from? Where do those design decisions come from? You know, when you're talking about a landscape and the estimates from Gartner, IDC, Forrester, if you look at all the analysts, there's somewhere on the magnitude of anywhere from 12 million to 14 million developers who identify themselves as Java developers. That's a lot. That's a lot of developers. So whenever you're in the 8 figures, that's a sizable pool of end users that we have to account for. That means there's also tens of thousands of businesses out there, all running different applications, targeting different verticals, targeting different hardware architectures and chipsets that we have to navigate. Not all of us in this room is using Java in a same way, but the landscape in terms of the architectural space is rather similar. And so we have to account for that. What is changing in CPU? What is changing in terms of hardware architecture? What is changing in terms of use cases? We have to evaluate that and navigate that. We have a couple of Java engineers from the Java team in this room, and I can tell you, they pay critical attention to all of this. Every single day, we are monitoring the technical landscape to ensure as much of what Java is can deliver and meet your needs as broadly as possible. The other thing is, again, conservatism. With all of these changes, can we still ensure businesses that have applications that are long running can be minimized in terms of change, in terms of minimal impact? We want you to be able to take your Java workloads, whether they are in 8 or 11 or 17, to just inherently work on the newest version that comes out. Which, by the way, I'm going to quiz. I think everyone knows the answer, but let's see. When's Java 23 coming out? September. Thank you. 6 months. Our release cadence is every March, and every September. You can count on that as clockwork. And you as developers know better than anyone. When there's predictability, it makes it much easier to then prepare for when you have to adapt and adjust your workload. Gone are the times where, well, is 8 coming out? Is 9 coming out? It's kind of scary. The other thing is, we no longer guarantee a feature with a specific release. We no longer feature bind a specific feature to a release. And oftentimes I'll get questions, so when is the pipeline of innovation in Valhalla coming? When it's done. I say that because we want to ensure that it has met the strictest quality criteria as possible before we make it available. We fell into this trap with past release of Java where we bound a specific feature with a specific release, and you as engineers and developers know once you do that, it's not always as easy as it seems. And if there is something that's slowing down progress and innovation on that feature, it then delays all of the other features that are ready from ever reaching market. And we don't want that. So features come when features are done. And guess what? If it doesn't make this specific release train in 6 months, the next one is only another 6 months away. So we're pretty confident that when we are ready to make something available, we will. And we have other facilities, by the way, to also make your life a little easier. Back in the days of 6, 7, and 8, when features were done, you would get it when it was delivered, which meant you never had a chance to test them out in advance. You never had the chance to give us feedback in terms of how we are designing or making some of the creative decisions in terms of how we're designing a specific feature. Like I said, all of you played that special role, and you didn't have that role previously. Now we have this concept of early access builds. In fact, before Java 22 was available in March, we already had early access builds of 23 available. Now that 22 is out, you can continue to take a look at our early access builds of 23 and start understanding how to best utilize what's available in that specific release. We also have the concept of preview releases, or excuse me, preview features. What does a preview feature allow you to do? From our side, it meets all of the specifications necessary to deliver it as a fully functional feature in a release. But we're probably, as they say in American sports, 5 yards away out of the pitch. We're not 100% there, but we're pretty confident we're there. But we need is your feedback. So we can get your feedback. We can release a preview feature. It gives you a chance to look at it, give us compelling input as far as what changes to fundamentally make before we then introduce it as a GA feature in a downstream release. That's pretty powerful. Your voice matters, your feedback matters, and we want that. And that's what preview features allows us to do. Now, modernizing Java is, like I said, not just one thing. All of the innovation that we do around Java happens at OpenJDK. Is there anyone in this room not part of the OpenJDK project? Not. And it's okay if you're not. Okay. A couple people? All right. I would encourage you to go there. Why do I say that? OpenJDK is our place of development. A lot of times we'll go into an enterprise and have had rather challenging conversations with business leaders saying, if we just knew what you were doing, it would then help us drive our business forward. Well, guess what? There is no trick up our sleeve. There's no secret sauce. All of our development is done transparently at OpenJDK. We have mail lists. You can look at the code check-ins. You can look at the design decisions. You can look at decisions on terms of what we did and why we didn't do it. And you can also participate with us. We have specific roles that are inherently built in OpenJDK, and I know a couple of people in this room who are part of that, who are taking that sort of next encouraging step in terms of participation. Participation can happen passively, transparently through the mail lists and monitoring what's happening in terms of the evolution, but then there's also participation by actually joining us on the journey to give us your technical perspectives in terms of where we should be driving and shaping Java. And here you just see a collection of few of the features that are at OpenJDK. Amber should be very familiar. For me, if you ask any developer on the Java team what is their favorite project, for me, it's Amber. Personally, because it's all about reducing the ceremony and boilerplate around Java to make it much more approachable. Let's be real, and I'm okay with saying this. Java has been historically rather verbose. We need to make it much more efficient because guess what? Reading, writing, and maintaining code is hard, especially on the maintaining part. I'm sure there's some of you in this room who've had to pick up someone else's project and code who's no longer at your company, and you have to decipher what they did and why they did it. That can be challenging, especially in terms of how they actually wrote the code. So if we can make Java more simple in terms of how it's written, it becomes, again, more readable, more writable, more maintainable. We're making investments in the microservices space with Loom. You may have seen virtual threads released in Java 21. In fact, there was a great session and I encourage all of you to watch it, that happened here at DevOps UK, that talked about virtual threads and Spring Boot. If you haven't had the chance to go see that session or didn't have the opportunity, please go watch the replay. In fact, one of the presenters is in the back of the room, and I'm so thankful he made time for this chat and talk. So Venkat, thank you for that session. That was extremely powerful. So please go watch his session. And then, of course, we get this question a lot. What are you doing in the AI space? That's where the market seems to be going. I think there's a bit of a hype curve on that. We can talk about that over beer later. I have personal opinions about it, both good and bad. Just remember, AI is a tool, so use your tool based on what your needs are. That's always important. But in terms of Java, what are we doing? We know inherently the problem around AI is along the lines of native libraries, and so we want some coordination between Java and native libraries to allow for that actual acceleration of productivity through the lens of Project Panama. ZGC, also highly interesting. I think it's great. We're talking about reducing pause times down to milliseconds in terms of terabyte heaps. That means you're probably not going to get very critical performance issues in your applications as it's running. In fact, where is Stefan? Stefan? Yes? One of my coworkers at Oracle who's working on Project ZGC was instrumental in generational ZGC that came out in Java 21. Again, all of these are not independent projects. They're meant to interoperate with each other. The features within each of these projects are meant to interoperate with each other for the sole goal of accelerating your productivity. That is literally the ethos we have on our team. We want to accelerate your productivity, we want to ensure that it's stable, and we want to ensure that it's secure. Fundamental 3 principles of what we do every day on the Java team. So I'm going to pause there for a moment and now switch over to where do we get inspired and what role do you play? And I wanted to talk to you about a little bit where I gain inspiration from. Where does my inspiration come? Where do some of my peers' inspiration come? And for me, I came from, and I was lucky enough to have 2 parents who didn't introduce me to TV until I was 7, which was great, which meant, oh, what did you do for fun, Shar? I read a lot. My parents were voracious readers, especially in science fiction, which if anyone ever understands what I do offline, I'm literally immersed in the world of sci-fi every day. It makes my children sick to the point where they want to leave the room. But I think it's a place for inspiration. Because for me, science fiction tells you about the impossible that can be possible if we think about how to do it smartly. But I'm going to tell you something rather interesting. And for me, this is very fundamental to everyone in this room. Slow down. We as an industry, we as developers have been told moving fast is good. Speed does matter. Acceleration does matter, but there is a breaking point. In fact, breaking things is bad. I can't believe that there is this ethos out there about let's move fast and let's break things. That to me is fundamentally not where we should have muscle memory. In fact, I will postulate that my father's quote is much better, which by the way, that's little Shar back in 1971. I have more hair now. I used to debate with my father a lot about these conversations, about what's happening in our tech industry. And he's a man of very few words. And he paused me at dinner and he said, Shar, let's move thoughtfully and build things. And I had to sit there and I had to process and I had to think about what he was saying. He wasn't saying moving thoughtfully doesn't break things. It means you're considering how to minimize the breakage. And when you consider how to minimize the breakage, then in terms of the impact, it is much less, not much more. And so I look at it from a concept of let's build things and not break things and understand the less harm we do, the better. And that's literally what my role has been. Everything that I have done for the last 24 years, it'll be 25, I can't believe that. It's crazy that I've been so lucky to have this type of a role for so long, is put you first. All too often, companies put the technology first and the people second. Java was one of the first technologies that put people first. I'll give you a little bit of a story on that. I am not like you. Most of you probably graduated with a technical degree. Most of you probably matriculated something in either CS or engineering or something in the sciences. I did not. My background was third world economics. I worked at World Bank. I was doing soft float loans to needful countries and quickly realized this was not the career path for me, despite the guidance from my parents. You know what, Shar, you might want to go down the technical route, but they never forced it on me. And I discovered Java. Very sage person when I was working at Verizon, when I was over there, said, you are in the wrong career. You need to come over here, apprentice on my team, and we will help you. Because you've shown the aptitude. You've been helping internally with all of the IT issues. You might not be technically trained, but you show the aptitude. And he guided me. And he allowed me to learn. And he took me to Java 1, by the way, the first one, in 1996. And I was exposed to what Java was. As fascinated as I was with the technology, I was more fascinated with how it was being designed, how it was meant to be inclusive, how it was taking the voice and input from individuals like all of you in terms of migrating it and guiding it forward. And that day when Sun decided to hire me, I'm still pinching myself to this day. I don't know how that happened. Maybe this is all a dream still. I don't know. But it allowed me to take that skill sets of, because I used to also be a part-time teacher, and as a teacher, what is your goal? Your goal is to help others reach their summit, as I said. My desire, in terms of where I draw inspiration from and where I get value, is knowing all of you have reached your summit. And if I can help you in some way on your Java journey reach your summit, that is all the success I need. And then we at Oracle on the Java team know we're in a good place. And that fundamentally means to help you reach your summit, we need to look at it from three important components: learn, share, and contribute. Learn, share, and contribute meaning what is the information that we can put out there through the multiple modalities that we all have that you can continue to learn your Java journey, whether you're just beginning, if you're in the intermediate stage, or how expert you are, which, by the way, never become an expert, but seek expertise. Because I think an expert has nothing new to learn. And again, another quote from my father, you know less than you know. You do. We all know less than we know. There's always something new you can learn. And let me tell you, in the Java space, there's always something new to learn. So, and then share. What accelerates learning? Despite what industries all of you may be in, and they may be disparate and different, there are use cases and best practices that we can all commonly share with each other that allows us to become better. So we need a facility of programs in terms of share. But then lastly, contribute. How do you participate to actually shape that future? We need a lane and a set of programs to do just that. And so where do we start? Number one is we have to continue to water the roots of the foundational programs that gave the Java ecosystem life. Now, some of you might say, Shar, Oracle is not watering this as much as they used to. And that is a valid comment. I will take that back. I continue to take that feedback back. But a tree is only strong as its roots. We can't build out new programs unless the trunk and the roots are strong. And so we continue to invest in many of these programs. Is anyone here not a member of a Java user group? Not a member. I would please encourage you to come and consider joining a local Java user group. There's almost 400 in the world, touching every continent except Antarctica. If you want to move there and start one, I'll help you. I've always wanted to go there personally. That would be great. But user groups is a place for that common knowledge and transferring of information. And even if one isn't local, many of these are pretty accessible from an online perspective. So I encourage you to do that. Our Java Champions program. Java Champions are luminaries who have demonstrated both a technical and or a community level of expertise and talent that has helped lift up the entire ecosystem. We actually recognized one on stage during the keynote. Venkat Subramaniam, again, back of the room, Lifetime Achievement Award. Those things just don't happen. These are people who care about your future. There's 397 Java champions in the world, recognized Java champions. We hope to see more. Maybe one of you will aspire to become one. But you can always connect with one, and I'll show you where to get that information. And then lastly, certification. It's inherent that we keep our skills strong, and the Java certification program is something that we continue to invest in. In fact, last year, in August of 2023, the 1 millionth Java certification was completed by a gentleman in Tokyo, or just outside of Tokyo. But there are over now 1 million Java certified developers on this world, and that's important. When I said we need to invest in you, we also want to extend your career. And that certification means something. When you go into your employer or a new employer, it carries weight. It shows that you have the skill sets and the credentials that they are looking for to drive their business forward. But we can't rest on our laurels. As much as we're pouring water onto the roots, we know we also have to cultivate new branches. And so, like everyone in this room, we all have our own modalities in terms of how we want to stay connected. We have this this digital age we are now immersed in terms of how we can access information, which means we also have to fundamentally have programs to allow you to get that wealth of information. If you are not familiar with our Java YouTube channel, it's really easy to remember, youtube.com/Java. We have archived and cultivated a set of learning videos, both in short form and long form, to help educate you on the new features that we're delivering. It's a great place where you can go to get that sort of one to the screen type of learning. We also do things in podcast form, videocast. We also have things as short as 1-minute clips with Sip of Java, which is fundamentally meant to introduce you to a lesser known feature. Because let's face it, I get it, going back to the new shiny thing. There are other things that we release in Java that aren't as well known, but also accelerate your productivity. And so the Sip of Java program, we do 1-minute shorts to expose you to what it is, why to use it, and where to use it. And then we'll push you off to where you can get deeper information. Again, learning doesn't happen in one form. It happens in many forms, and we want to ensure we're covering as many of those learning channels as possible. And which, by the way, my coworkers are probably loving that I'm showing their faces here. That's Ana Maria Mihalcianu on the far left, Jose Pumard in the middle, and Billy Corando on the far right. These are some of our Java advocates who travel the world to educate all of you in person, but also are creating all of that learning material. And of course, you know my best friend, Duke. Learning also in the sense of from a tooling capacity. My first job at Sun was actually on the NetBeans IDE. I was responsible for all the emulators that go into it for deploying feature phone applications before smartphones came out. I love NetBeans, but we also have to look at the landscape of other IDEs. So we want to inherently ensure that NetBeans, Eclipse, are first-class citizens for Java. We now have a Visual Basic VS Code plugin for Java as well. We've seen a lot of students in 11th and 12th grade and their first year of college being issued laptops where they cannot configure their device. It comes as configured as it is, but they can always go to the VS Code Marketplace to do downloads. And so we now have a Java plugin in the VS Code Marketplace. So that is a net new investment that we just started last year in September. And we're trying to evolve that into something much more robust and meaningful. Again, covering all of the places where you're accessing Java innovation, features, and information. I purposely put this in here because this is your opportunity. Click the picture or click the QR codes. A couple of years ago, we secured the .java TLD, which gives us some interesting opportunities in terms of how to build out programs. The first one is dev.java. This is almost a reincarnation, if anyone remembers, java.sun.com. It was one place, one-stop shop for all of the Java innovation and information that you could get from the single vendor at that time of Java. What we've done here with dev.java is have learning tutorials, learning content, different formats in terms of skill level, but we also have all of that community content. So where do I go to find out about a Java user group? Right there. Where do I learn about the Java Champions program? You go there. Where do I get information about the Java certification courseware? You go there. We're trying to build this as one gravitational point for all things Java for you coming from the Java team at Oracle. Something else that many of you, a couple of people in this room actually were directly part of the feedback we got, but even more so outside, is inside.java. Inside.java is an aggregation of all of the publications and videos that come from our engineers. We've aggregated by author, by topic, by project for that easy discovery. So you don't have to always go to, let me just go to Google and see if I can find this. And will the search results give me something back that's somewhat meaningful? How much time do I have to save through pecking through all these links? If you need something from the Java team, come to inside.java, highly discoverable, and it'll help you in your learning journey. Now, as much as I've been talking about what Oracle is doing, as I said, there's a lot of luminaries out in the Java community as well. We need to give them a facility to echo their voice in terms of their approach and technical guidance as far as how to use Java, where to use Java, what to avoid, where are the pitfalls based on their experience and their talent and their expertise. And so we now have a contributory model where third-party developers outside of the Java team, through GitHub requests, we have a specific topic on there. They can then post an article. It will go through a strict quality review, and we will then publish that on dev.java. A few of the authors here that we've seen, Venkat, as you know, Heinz Kubutz, Gene Boyarsky, Kai Horstman. We also have content from Gail and Paul Anderson, who are in the client space, specifically in Java FX. We're looking for more authors. And it doesn't have to be just because they're a luminary, they get their content published. If you have something that you believe is valuable to share with your peers, we'd like to know. So please go to our GitHub project. Information is on dev.java. Put in your proposal and we'll consider it because we want your voice to be heard. Which, by the way, we also know for some people that visibility is also important to your employer. So if we can help you in that regard too, to bootstrap and help your career, that's another advantage of being able to participate in this. Almost last but not least, our Java Playground is now available on dev.java. One of the things, again, coming from your collective feedback in the ecosystem, how do I use a specific feature? Can you give me a place where I can just see what a specific feature is in terms of generated code before I use it in production, or start to utilize it in a pet project? If this is browser-based, we're looking to improve that. Maybe we'll have this as a plugin in other places. I hope that happens. But this is our initial step. We have a Java Playground where you can get on dev.java to look and explore things like virtual threads or other net new features that we've been releasing to see what it looks like in an easy to understand way. I mentioned this in the beginning, OpenJDK, again, this is the place where we do all of our innovation and development transparently. This is a place where you can directly participate in shaping that future. We have multiple roles that are available. Take a look at them. Which one maps to your spirit? Because some of them are intense. So it all depends on how spirited you want to be in terms of participating with us. But again, please join us on that journey. Last but not least, this was announced, but I'm going to re-announce it again. Java 1, it's coming back. Yay! 2 claps, 3 claps, I'll take it. We have listened to you. I was fortunate enough to be the Java 1 chairperson for about 9 years. It broke my heart when this investment disappeared. I was glad to see it reintroduced in 2022. The number one feedback we got was, please, Oracle, decouple it from your flagship corporate suited event. We heard you loud and clear. So Java 1 will happen independently in May of next year, entirely developer focused. We're starting small, intentionally we're starting small to ensure it meets the quality needs first, and then learn from this to see how we can then start growing it back to scale that meets the needs of all of you. So with that, I think the future looks bright. Thank you to my daughter for making this slide. Yay. Thank you, Nisha, wherever you are. But there should absolutely always be concern about the future. The concern is what drives us, but it's about how concerned are we. You should know fundamentally that your investments that you're making as a developer in Java is paying off. The feedback you are giving is helping shape that future. Your participation absolutely matters, and you should absolutely walk with the level of confidence with your head held high to say you are a Java developer. And so with that, I want to say thank you.